Thanks so much. I recognize that the other colleagues that are in the room might know a little bit about me already. But I also know there are also people watching video after the fact potentially. So I'll I'll just give it my best kind of go in a small place and feel free to ask questions along the way. Um, so thanks for having me here. I I don't know what yeah, thanks, Mercedes. Um, so I think I was asked to share a little bit about my undergraduate experience and kind of how I got to where I was, but more focused more on those like undergraduate formative experiences and sort of figuring out the next steps. So I think that's what I'll try to do is say a little bit about that. I think in order to say that, I sort of need to introduce myself broadly. Um, as said before, I'm Carrie Diaz Eaton. I'm an associate professor of digital and computational studies at Bates College. So that's the background that's here. I really had to decide, was I going to put my fall background there or my winter background there? Because it's really feeling like winter already, even though snow is not yet on the ground and there's still leaves, but it's close. Um, I've been at Bates for, I guess this is my 6th year now. Before that, I was at an environmental college called Unity College for 8 years, but then moved. And both were in Maine. So how did I get to Maine? I'm not from Maine originally, but definitely college was a big part of that. How did I get to be in digital computational studies? I didn't plan that, but that's also definitely what my undergraduate experience led me to in ways I could not have anticipated. So I'll start there. Um, I I think it's important to note that I hold a lot of identities that are kind of in multiple worlds simultaneously. So having a father who's Latino and having a mother that's white and having a father that's Catholic and a mother that's Baptist and all these other kinds of things. And I wanted to mention that because I think I spent a lot of time trying to figure out like where I fit in. And I think that this is sort of a also the case very much in terms of my career and where my interests fit in and how that was going to mold into a career, just like, figuring out how my identities were going to make up who I was, today. So when I was growing up, it was a era of Save the Whales. I don't know if folks are familiar with that era, but it was really the thing. We wanted to save the whales. We wanted to save the rainforest. I mean, that was like really the kind of sentiment that was coming out in a lot of ways. Maybe to the extent now that we talk about um, climate change or something like that, everybody was talking about biodiversity and forests. And I was so into that. I was like, I had some other interests along the way. I really enjoyed math. I would do it for fun. I really liked rocks. I thought they were cool. But when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for a career, I really, really wanted to save the rainforest or save the animals. I mean, that's what I was going to go to college to do. And so I, in a very characteristically stubborn Carrie way, said I was only going to apply to programs that had zoology majors. Now, for those who don't know, zoology is like the study of animals, and that as a major has a long history, but in recent times has practically become extinct. It's not really a thing people major in as much anymore. Usually it's just biology or something like that. So okay, I picked something that probably wasn't like the most lucrative kind of major, but I was so definitely going to do it. That was definitely what I was going to do. So I ended up, applying to some places. I ended up doing a little bit of variation on that. I think I might have applied to a marine science program too, or something like that. But at the end of the day, after doing, figuring out where I got my offers, what the financial aid looked like, and kind of how the colleges felt. Like, did they feel warm? Did they feel like a family, a home away from home? I ended up accepting an offer from the University of Maine. So I was from Southern New England, from Providence area. Then I went to high school in Massachusetts. So I was already in New England. And I seem to already be starting this migration north, not because I like cold, but just out of coincidence. And I landed in Maine. And it ended up being a really, really, really good choice for me. Like I said, I was really into math and liked math, but I was at a public school and we had a very good math team and I was very involved. But I definitely felt like I was like the worst of the best, I guess you could say. And so I think I had a great program, but I didn't feel like, oh, certainly the best people on the team are going to be mathematicians, not me, right? Like I had kind of already ruled it out in a way. And so I think being at this university college, it wasn't a destination necessarily for kids to get math degrees, maybe unless they were already in Maine. And I taking that pressure off, I think really allowed me to sort of just take some math classes for fun. I know that sounds weird, but but that was me. And Jenna's probably like, oh yeah, I can relate, but like, I wanted to challenge myself again. And on the other hand, I was taking my biology classes and they were really, really interesting. I was really interested, but I just wasn't doing as well. I felt like it was really, really, really hard. And so I had this talk with my advisor at the time, and I was like, I think I really just, I'm working really hard at this biology major. I think I need a little bit of a break. I think I need some easier classes. I was really, I had just had a semester of organic chemistry and was looking at the second semester, and it was just really, really killing me. So he said, well, okay, Carrie, well, what do you want to do? What do you want your schedule to look like? And I told him I was going to take differential equations and introduction to computer science and linear algebra and, and this list of math courses. And he looked at me like, that is not taking a semester off. That's like, what is that? And so I guess maybe around that time I realized like, oh, like not everybody thinks taking a full semester of math is a semester off. Like, and it got me thinking about, okay, well, maybe, I was just taking those so I could finish a math minor, but then I started thinking, well, maybe I could double major, and I started exploring that as a possible direction. I ended up taking one biology class, a cellular molecular biology, and I ended up dropping it a few weeks in because I was like, no, actually, I just really want to take the math classes. So I kind of went into a little bit of a, like, not quite a crisis, but like I was at the end of my sophomore year and I had to kind of figure out, okay, like, where am I going with this? So, I only got a few semesters left to figure something out. And I think it was I was really leaning towards this double major idea. And then like I just ended up doing really well in my math courses. And more than that, the professors really appreciated it. It was a really nice small program. They were really, really good to me. It really encouraged me. I had a professor that was like giddy, jumping up and down because I aced his final. I had another professor that was like, hey, can you join my topology course next semester? And I'm like, that's a graduate course and I'm an undergraduate. He's like, yes, do it. So I was like, okay. He recruited me and another undergraduate to join. And that was great. I got involved in the math team. That was great. All of a sudden I started finding community. So before that, all of my like campus community was coming from my residential dorm community, or all of the co-curriculars I was involved with, like Spanish Language Club or Latino Students Association or Gay Straight Alliance, like all of that kind of stuff. But then there was like this opening. I could also be involved in all of the math stuff too, and in a way that wasn't available in the biology program. There was just so many students, and I was sitting in lecture halls of 200. And here I am walking down the math department hall, and everybody says hi, and everybody knows you, and everybody, you know, really, really wanting to create a community. So that's how I switched to the dark side. That's how I switched to mathematics. I think I was really just looking for my community. I was looking for my people. And it didn't keep me from pursuing biology. It just made me rethink how I wanted to, quote unquote, save the animals or save the ecosystems. The next year I had one of my professors told me, as I was looking for somebody to do my thesis with, professor told me that they had just hired a math biologist. And I was like, what's a math biologist? And it was somebody who did both math and biology together. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. My biology professors were nice and supportive, but they had no idea. They only really thought about statistics, and I wasn't really as interested in statistics in terms of like what kind of mathematics I wanted to do. So bringing this faculty person to UMaine, having them start, I was like, I didn't even know this is a thing you could do. I mean, you can use math to like save the world. This is great. Like, I get to do the two things I want to do. And I didn't know that was even possible. So I think like I started talking a little bit about being like a multiple world spanner in different areas. And I think that's where I think this really kind of played in for me. I was really excited that she was coming, but she was probably, now looking back on this, equally as excited to find a student who was interested in both math and biology. I think looking back, that was probably not the most common combination. And she ended up offering me a research position in her lab because she had gotten some research grants. And so I ended up doing summer research with her before my senior year and continued into my undergraduate thesis with her. She's not at UMaine anymore. She's at Arizona State University. Her name's Dr. Sharon Crook. And she was working on computational neuroscience. So I think my plug into this was like, okay, we're working on like animal behavior, and that's cool. It was like sensory behavior and models of neurons and how they're interconnected and how that can affect how you process information. As interesting as I found that, I was still taking my biology courses, and I just got really hooked on an area called evolution and population genetics. So it was the study of genetic change over time. And I just was absolutely certain that this, even though that had strong statistical roots, I was absolutely certain that this also had like larger modeling roots. And having the flexibility during my time to be able to take classes that, you know, were just because I was interested in, and just kind of making room for that in my schedule. I think that was really, really important. And I was able to sort of take, you know, first an evolution class, then a population genetics class, then a quantitative genetics class. I had actually decided that same advisor had actually said, hey, like I still have funding for a graduate student. If you want to stay, you can do your master's here too. So I just ended up staying, and I was like, let me figure out what it is I want to do next. Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things that I feel like from that undergraduate experience that were really important. One was just finding community and feeling supported. One was really just following my interests, not thinking things were impossible, but just learning about things that I loved, and then it turned out that there were entire areas that were good for me to combine those things together, which worked out really well and not something I could have planned in advance. I also had a lot of other things going on. I actually got married fairly young, so I got married in my senior year of college. So that added a whole new dimension, and a two-body problem. And then having that time to just give myself to learn more and try to figure out what I wanted to do next, gave me the opportunity to figure out, yeah, I really want to do this evolutionary theory stuff, and then pick a graduate school. I wasn't always sure I wanted to go to graduate school. In fact, it was really scary for me because I would have to leave Maine. There's no PhD programs in math in the whole state. But I did try to do, I had been, when my advisor went on maternity leave, I taught a course and I really liked that. And then I was going to like explore college teaching, like at a community college. And I realized that all of the jobs were really going to be adjunct and it just wasn't going to be enough to pay the bills. So that was kind of the thing that kicked me into graduate school. But I think it was a great choice. I got to really kind of figure out what I wanted to do, and then felt confident enough, yes, this is what I want to spend the next X number of years on, in terms of research. So I think one of the other kind of take homes is don't worry if it's not all completely planned out. I mean, you can listen to kind of what your heart and brain are telling you and try to put those pieces together. But yeah, just keep going and do what you love. I think that's all I kind of had prepared. So if there are any questions, that would be great.